What is up, friends? My name is Callie. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, I'm Callie. I am a bodybuilding and a lifestyle coach. I am a wife, I'm an entrepreneur. Most importantly, I am a daughter of the King Most High. If you clicked on this video, you know that we're gonna be talking about all the things you should know before going into bodybuilding. So I'm not gonna keep this intro forever, so let's just get straight into the video. I have all the notes that I'm going to be addressing really quick on my phone so I make sure not to miss any of the upcoming points. So number one, the first thing that I want to address is that competing is different than being competitive. So what does this mean? Competing means essentially just getting on stage, just doing the process. Being competitive is going up against other people and essentially wanting to win or do very well in the show. Those two things are very different. You need to figure out if you're wanting to just compete to compete, or if you're wanting to be competitive. I first started just wanting to compete. Now I'm at a point in my life where I'm wanting to be competitive. My goal is to be a bodybuilding natural figure pro. In order to get that pro status, you're gonna have to be competitive. I'm not going up there just to get up on stage. I'm going up there with the intent in mind. So to flood into our second point is, what is your why? Are you doing this just because you want to win? Or are you doing this because you want to just get super lean? Or are you doing this because you truly love the sport and you have a passion for it and you want to challenge yourself? Are you doing it because you love the discipline and the practices that come with a bodybuilding prep? Or are you doing this for yourself? Are you doing it to seek validation from others? Obviously, there are reasons and whys that people do this, and they're not the best reasons to be stepping on stage for a bodybuilding show. And if your why is not a strong intrinsic reason or push for you or a motivator, and you're probably going to develop some unhealthy habits along the way that you didn't intend to, but because of your lack of intention and your lack of understanding the motive and the why, you could be harming yourself in the long run. And trust me, you do not want to do that. You have to be very careful with this sport and why are you deciding to do it. This is the point that probably most people do not want to hear. You're more than likely going to need an off season, and an off season that's probably longer than you would like for it. Now, there are several phases of prep and just phases of bodybuilding, and the off season is one of them. The off season can be really fun, and it can also be really hard because a lot of us are pushing weights and body sizes that we're not comfortable with. We're putting on more body fat than usual just because our main goal in an off season is to increase our calories, increase our metabolism function, and obviously putting on some really solid muscle mass. Most of us, when we are first getting into this, probably could not step on stage right away to be competitive. So if you are looking to be competitive, you're probably gonna need a pretty long off season, and one longer than what most people would typically expect at the start. My next point is to choose which federation you want to compete in. So what are the federations? There are tested and there are untested federations. Untested federations include people who are using steroids and PEDs. Untested is where you have to get tested for drugs and you cannot compete if you are using PEDs, steroids, all of that stuff. So for example, for me, I started in the NPC and I was competing against other women who could have potentially been on steroids. In my opinion, it is a lot more competitive to get onto an NPC stage because you're going against people who, let me say, bust their behind, however they're enhanced. So they are getting a little bit of help from these quote unquote tools for their physique on stage. So the untested federations can be, you know, tough competition. And some people truly just genetically are blessed and are, better set up for bodybuilding and just have an easier time putting on mass and an easier time shedding, you know, body fat, all of that stuff. Or you can go in the natural only route, which is now the route I am going down. I don't plan on competing in the NPC for a while, at least until I can achieve muscle maturity. This is the biggest part that a lot of people forget about, is that this sport is expansive. Let me tell you, oh my goodness. I have it all written down here, so let me just list it off. Have your suit, that's gonna be anywhere from, I'd say $300 to like $800. You have to have your travel expenses like hotel, gas. if you're gonna be staying there, Airbnb, all of those expenses for that weekend, your federation card, so your NPC card, then you're also having classes on top of that. So for each one, you have to pay separate classes for it. You have to pay for your coach every single month. You have tanning, which is also upwards of like $200. You have makeup, which is also upwards of $200. You have heels, which is anywhere from like $90 to $150. You have your jewelry. There's more expenses that I can't even think of at the top of my head, but those ones are pretty expensive and they do add up. So when I first competed for the very first time back in 2023, I was smacked in the face with how expensive this was before stepping on stage. It's a lot, so you do have to budget for it. Next up, like I just said before, you should look into working with a coach. I'm not saying you should be working with me, but I do take on bodybuilding competitors. You need to make sure that this coach is what you are looking for. Are you looking for a hands-on approach, or are you looking for more of a, off-hands approach? Are you looking for somebody who you can meet in person, or are you looking with somebody who is just gonna be online? You need to figure out the type of coaching style that you like, communicate that with your coach, make sure that they're in your budget range, and obviously that they know what they're doing, because there are coaches out there who don't know what they're doing and could really harm their athletes, because some of their athletes will just say, okay, I hired you, I'm gonna do exactly what you say, and then when they do exactly what they say, they're actually harming themselves significantly. So just be wary of that. And also, a coach should never be feeling like they're forcing you to do steroids, PEDs, or anything like that. I've heard some horror stories regarding that, and it's just not a great place to be. You shouldn't feel like a coach is pressuring you to do it. It's one thing to ask. It's like, hey, have you considered doing this? Versus like full on trying to pressure you. So be wary of that. And this coach also should be giving you timelines of like, hey, this is what we're doing right now. They should be communicating with you like, this is your rate of loss per week. This is what we're shooting for. This is the show that we're shooting for. These are the weeks that taking up to it, and just letting you know in the process. I don't believe that you should be blindsided with this process. I think there should be expectations laid out right away of like, okay, here's the goal timeline and all of that fun stuff. If you do not have that, maybe look into different coaches or coaching styles or whatever it may be. Macros or meal plan. I personally like doing macros with my bodybuilding clients. However, I do offer a meal plan if they so choose. So I will give them the macros and the meal plan in case something were to change. To go along with that, you need to be used to packing your meals beforehand, traveling with your meals, all of that fun stuff, because there really is not a lot of room for error in prep. I personally have had some errors and I've had to make them up, but it is never a good feeling when you are hours away from home, you have no food on hand, and you're just like, what am I gonna do right now? So you should be prepared and have these habits instilled before even jumping into a bodybuilding prep. As for macros and meal plan, it's up to a personal preference. I personally like to make my own meal plan with the macros that my coach has given me, and I don't change it until he changes up my macros. And all I do is just adjust portion sizes from there. But I'm also somebody who travels a lot, so given a circumstance where, hey, it would just be easier to take a protein bar on an airplane ride and then change my meals up around like my travel day at an airport, that's a lot easier. So it is personal preference here. You just have to communicate that with your coach. And once again, you need to be good at communicating. That's another huge point. If something happens, just tell your coach. So instead of going to this spiral down a whole drain, you can rely on your coach to help you out through this process. Another point, because I've seen this too often, is that you are choosing to do this sport. There is no way, shape, or form that you should be making other people feel guilty because you are choosing to do an extreme sport. Extreme sports means extreme protocols, extreme measures. You are shooting for a really big goal that not a lot of people do. So if you want to go out to a social outing, people should not be having to apologize to you, or you shouldn't be making people apologize to you for eating normal food at a social outing. They shouldn't have to feel bad because you're making them feel bad for eating in front of them. You are choosing to do this. It is not their problem. It is your problem. You are choosing this. Huge one. Your prep will be different from other people's prep. It looks very individual from every single person. One person may be doing more cardio. One person may be doing less cardio. One person has more steps. One person has less steps. more food, less food, blah, blah, blah. We all are very different. Our metabolisms are different. And that's why you need to work with a coach in an off season too, so they can get a feel of like, hey, this is like how your body functions. This is like the trend with weigh-ins and stuff. For example, I have a tendency to remain the same and then one big drop after a rest day. I have that tendency and that fluctuation, and my coach knows that. My cardio got pretty high pretty quick in this last prep because my prep was a lot shorter than what my first prep was. So the second prep looked a lot different than my first prep. So just remember not to compare your journey to others people's journeys, because our bodies are so different. Our body responses are so different. It is very individualized. And my last point that I really want to hit home is try not to follow other people who you know are going to be competing against you on stage, or just follow other people that you begin to compare yourself to, because you could easily fall into the trap of this person looks better than me, they're going to crush me on stage, all of that stuff, and just obviously a negative thought pattern. And that's a horrible way to go about things, is just the negative thinking. I absolutely don't want to see anybody go through that. And that was probably one of the biggest tips I got from the person who got me into bodybuilding, was do not follow these people, because obviously there's no animosity from our end. It's just a matter of our own well-being. I would say if you meet people at the show, follow them after the show, but I don't think following people who you're consistently comparing yourself to on social media is ever a good idea. So just be cautious of that and notice your thought patterns. If you catch yourself comparing, just do yourself a favor, unfollow them for the time being, just for your own peace of mind. So all in all, those are the main things I would say that you need to know before stepping into the bodybuilding world. I could dive into this in a lot more depth, but I wish I had one of these videos when I first started competing, because I was really blindsided by a lot of these things. And like I said, the expensive side of it was crazy. So if you are looking to see more videos just like this one, all things bodybuilding, lifestyle, health, fitness, then make sure to subscribe down below, and also follow me on Instagram, because I post there literally every single day. Of course, if you want to work with me as your coach, as a bodybuilding coach, there is a link in the description below where you can apply to work with me. And even if you want coaching but not bodybuilding coaching, we still offer lifestyle coaching as well. So definitely use that link below to apply, and we will be reaching out to you. But to those of you who got this far in the video, thank you so much. We love you so much, and I just thank you all so much for all the support, and I will see you guys in my next video.